All right. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Tuesday. And today on Odd Fitness Television, I had a thought a couple days ago about why some things are pushed to the top and why other things are not. And that thing that I'm referring to is the bench press. Why is it a standard? Why is it a standard at all of strength when there's other markers out there like overall body work that measures the legs, the buttocks, the back, the core, triceps, biceps, shoulders, lats, rhomboids, everything. And exactly what about it is so compelling that leads people to believe that if you have a big bench, you are somehow the strongest person. Or if your bench is not so strong, you're somehow a weak person. So, I did some light investigating about it, and here's what I found. I'm gonna read from my little notes here. So, the power of the bench press. Why is it a strong indicator of strength? A compound movement. Compound meaning a lot of different muscle groups at once. A lot, to name a few. Here it is. It works multiple large groups simultaneously. Pectorals, right here, the chest, deltoids, shoulders, triceps, right here. You're working all that when you do a bench press maneuver. Overall strength work is what it's counted for. The muscle activation. It builds significant muscle mass and endurance in chest, shoulders, and arms. I would have to agree. It is a compound movement. They're difficult. They take a lot out of you. And you are working a whole lot when it's taking place. Stabilizer engagement. It requires core, back, lats, erector spinae, even a little bit of leg drive that engages the body. Have you seen people, they're laying in the bench position, they tuck their legs back like almost to a ridiculous amount. They're tucking their legs back and they are giving a bit of a push. I've done it myself. That brace where you do have your lower back a bit off the bench does help, and that's the part where you're working your spinous erectors. And there are many ways to do it. I've seen people almost arch up to a yoga position as if doing a pelvic thrust, to where they're way off the bench, they're coming up, and you're like, geez, are you doing a bench press, or are you trying to move into fucking the bench to get inside the bar? What are you doing? And then when it comes to the drive coming up, getting the push in, some people are so arched back, they have a very low push to go. It's not very far distance, just a little bit, and that's kind of funny too. But not taking anything away, it's a hard lift. Another reason why the bench press is in that situation, it's at one of the top levels of strength, one of the big three lifts, standardized and comparable. The barbell. The weight is lifted easily and measured and compared, making it universal benchmark. So pretty much like you can only cheat it so much. And if you hit the lift, you hit the lift. If you didn't, it's going to come back down on you. Always, when doing a bench press, please have a spotter. If not a spotter, there are types of bench pressing equipment, squat racks that you can slide bars in between where you need to be. They're slightly above you. So right before you hit chest, you can have metal bars that'll stop the weight if you're going to be pressing well above your controlled maintenance requirements. If you're trying to get more strength out of it, trying to lift heavier on that day, and you don't have a spotter, please use some equipment that'll save your life so you do not die. So many videos on the YouTube of people doing very heavy bench presses and failing them. And when you fail them, there's only one spot for the bar to go. That's across your pectorals, or if you're very unlucky, across your neck. And that's when you choke yourself out. And a lot of people have died. This is a real phenomenon, and it's going on. People need to use their brains, and they need to have a spotter handy. And if not, use proper equipment for safety to make sure you can wake up the next day and have another bench pressing session to get stronger. I just don't understand it. The egos, man. The egos of people. Individual variations, body mechanics, limb strength, torso size can favor or hinder individuals. Bench strength genetics do play a role. Absolutely. You've seen it, and I've seen it too. Me at 5'9" versus a guy who's 6'4". If he's slightly lanky, you know, we both weigh the same amount. I'm about 185 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal. And if the guy that is doing the bench press and he's 6'4", he's 165 pounds, so he's a bit on the skinnier side. He may have a huge difficulty picking up the bench press and getting a lot of reps in, and effective reps in, just because of his limbs. If they're too long, you know, everybody's built a little different. You know, Michael Phelps was built very different, allowed him to do certain swimming techniques in the Olympics. And the people that have some of the best benching, pretty round individuals, hefty, smaller sized torsos. Their reach, as far as their arms go, their wingspan is shorter than their leg span often. Pretty much what it comes down to. They don't have much distance to go. The guys that are huge, 6'4" basketball players, they have a very tough time doing a giant squat or a giant bench press. It's difficult. They have a lot of room to push through. That's pushing whatever weight it is. Doesn't matter if it's 80 pounds, 280 pounds. When you're pushing that much through, and you have to do a lot of reach, that is what it is. So before you throw in the towel and say, oh, my bench press sucks, it's comparable to nobody's, I'm a weakling, think about the way you're built. Structurally, everyone's built different. Some people have big ass arms, huge triceps, great shoulder caps, incredible strength in their pectoralis major and minor. Some don't. I have an overall decent balance around my arms and pecs and back for an overall decently strong physique. Definitely not the strongest. Doesn't favor me in the greats at all. But my bench press when I was younger was decent. I'll go into those numbers later. So, don't want that soda to fall. Alright, we'll talk about... And then I was wondering what happened to the military press. The military press is an overhead press, OHP. A press right over your head using triceps, shoulder strength, a low amount of pectoralis minor up top here, maybe some major if you're lucky. And then once again, depending on, say, the barbell's right here going across the neck, how far you go down, you can do a partial, or you can go all the way down. Partials work However, the standardized testing, they're making sure you do a full range of motion rep all the way down to the neck, pressing all the way up with a full lockout. That's the way the Olympics judge it. That's the way a lot of people judge it. So I've looked into it a little bit. Why is the bench press the king? Part of these three lifts: the deadlift, the bench press, and the squat, the big three. And I found out that the military press, overhead press, was the standard of a strict press. Historically, was the benchmark for upper body strength. This was removed in 1972 due to judging difficulties with inconsistent form, allowing athletes to use their legs and hips for power. We've all seen that, a powerful push press. People are jumping down and coming up, and they're doing like a half squat and getting a big press. They're using a lot of momentum. I've done it in the past. There's a reason to do it. You're trying to get some reps in, trying to develop some power. The weight you have is very heavy across your shoulders and triceps, and to stand there strictly and press it, you may not be able to even get 2 reps. But if you're using this drive power of the legs, of your butt, core strength, using your oomph, getting in there and doing it like a powerful jerk movement, you could probably bang out 6 to 10 reps. So the judges, 1972, they threw that out. It's just not going to work. It does, the overhead press does measure pure strength. If this is the version without leg drive, this is no bouncing around, no nonsense. You stand there, you pick up the bar usually from a squat rack position. It's already on top of the rack, and then you press over. You can do that, and without leg drive, test fundamental upper body pushing strength, isolation of the shoulders and triceps, and that's a hard lift. Anybody that's done a fair amount of gym work, you're working out with a heavy overhead press, even a light overhead press, they're difficult. I usually favor dumbbells or machines or cables. Just the older you get, the more the joints get wore down, whether you work out or not. And some days that left shoulder is nicer, some days the right shoulder is nicer, some days they both feel decent and you can get in a good workout. But my current overhead press, maybe I'm lucky to get 120 pounds, maybe, strict form. That's on a very good day. In the past, I was able to get 135 pounds over the head, strict, not any bouncing around, at least not too much. This is standing, by the way. There's a seated version of the overhead press, and I favor the seated a little bit more. You don't have to worry about an arching back, your spine getting twisted, you're doing a back bend as you're going up, and it's healthy for you to have flexibility in the back, but nowhere did God say load up over 100 pounds and push it over your head while you're flexing your back, flexing out your spine like that. It could be possibly dangerous. Also, using a weight belt. I don't use weight belt now. Back in the day, in my 20s, I definitely use a weight belt. I'm 41 now, almost 42. Still in the game, still very healthy, in good shape. Overall, great strength, especially for my age. But the overhead press, very demanding, very useful still. If you can get a good overhead press going your whole life and those shoulders aren't too banged up, keep going. That's a great indicator of strength. And it turns out that having a powerful upper body prevents you from having heart attacks, prevents you from a lot of diseases. So it's a good thing. Olympic history. The overhead press, OHP, aka military press. Over Olympic history, over the course of the years, it was a core lift in the early Olympic weightlifting alongside the snatch and cleaning jerk before being dropped. So the snatch, right? That's a squatted position, and then you come up with a good amount of momentum, and I cannot do them, by the way. A good amount of momentum, you pick it up over the head, you dip up under it. Very athletic maneuver. Hats off to anybody that can do those, and some of these guys, the elite level guys, picking up 400 pounds doing this, absolutely amazing. Technique or raw strength or not, it's simply outstanding and amazing power. A clean and jerk. clean and jerks, I used to do them in high school, training for football. You had to train them for doing football. They wanted you to do them if you were being a wrestler, and that's from a deadlifted position. You pull up the barbell, get up under it, so then you've cleaned it. It's called a clean. You pick it all the way up to your chest and shoulders, and then the jerk, split leg, push up, over the head, power, momentum, a good rock, boom, and you hit the jerk portion. Those, absolutely hard as hell. I remember when I was 15, I could do 125, and then as I went through the 3 more years of high school, my max for that, I got all the way up to 225. I got 1 rep on 225, clean and jerk, and it looked good. However, that is a very tough maneuver. I was never super proficient at them. I broke my ankle, got hit by a car when I was 13, had to get another surgery to take out a bone spur. Going through a lot of healing, had to get a surgery on my hand for a carpal tunnel, more healing. This was all during my high school days. So I was out with injuries for 4 to 6 months a couple times. I never quit. I kept going, persevered through the pain, stayed in good shape, still became one of the strongest kids in high school, regardless of the surgeries. Still had a huge bench press in high school. I got up to, in high school, 260 pounds was my good bench press in high school. 210 for 5 on incline. So I had some good lifts. The deadlift was decent, 340, and I didn't even know about bent over rows at that time, so I don't know what it would have been, but I would have done them if I did know. I learned more about bodybuilding as I aged. But yeah, those high school years, they show you can really carve out a lot of your strength when you're younger. You can make it happen and learn the mechanics, how your body works, what works for you, your limitations, your physical potential, and then go from there. But never stop training, always keep going. That's the whole point. So after it was dropped in Olympic history as one of the staples, rise of the bench press. It emerged as the new standard for upper body strength, especially in powerlifting, due to its focus on compound movements again, focus on chest, shoulders, and triceps. So it's simply an exercise that's building more muscular mass around the whole body, more engagement. The core is engaged a little bit. I wouldn't say it's engaged tremendously, but you are working triceps, shoulders, pectoralis major, a little bit of the spinous erectus with the push off. But it is working more, and it is much easily to be marked correctly. If nobody's doing, you can only do so much leg drive from a bench press. You can't come up off the bench. So it is now I understand why it's labeled as the big 3, which is a good thing. So we'll talk about some bench levels. Exactly who goes where, what numbers are considered strong and what are elite. So beginners. No, we'll go bench levels, untrained individuals, people that don't work out at all. 1 rep max, 65 to 85 pounds should be your 1 rep max as a bench presser if you've never done it at all. It's pretty decent. Most people don't weigh only 85 pounds. Most people are at least 100 pounds. Men and women. It's pretty rare to be under that. So I think that sounds about accurate. A beginner, somebody who just started working out in the gym, 100 to 135 pounds could be their bench pressing power. Intermediate levels. Here's where most people are. 175 pounds to 200 pounds. And it doesn't really break it down if it's a set of whatever or a 1 rep max. I'm just going to say it's a 1 rep max. Because 175 to 200, that's decent. That's where most people fall. It's above average a little bit, but not exactly advanced yet. 175 to 200, it's pretty decent. Not many people can do that A small percentage of people can only bench over 200 pounds. Advanced, 250 to 300 pounds. This is advanced people. That's a huge bench press. That's very tough. That's very tough to do at any age, no matter what your weight is. 250 to 300, it's huge. Elite, 300 to 400 pounds. These are the big people, the big men. Maybe there's a few out there, maybe a few big women, very few. It's very small percent. 300 to 400 pounds. And then the age bracket, 20 to 30s, peak strength. You should be able to hit 185 to 200. Yep, 40 to 50. That 185 to 200 drops about 10 to 20% lower. And then 60s, in your 60s, your strength starts to decline as you age. For most people, whether you're on the sauce or not. And that's understandable. So I just want everybody to know, anybody watching this video, we see on social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, whatever it is, even national television, the National Football League, these people throwing around 225, throwing around 350, and people begin to think this is normal. That is not normal, okay? Normal, intermediate, 175 to 200. Can you hit that? Then you're in the normal bracket. Above that, 200, 250, 300, that's huge. You are a very strong individual. You are setting yourself apart from the rest. I was happy to be apart from the rest back in the day, but as I get older, functional strength, flexibility, feeling good, having high energy levels and not feeling banged up and tore up all the time, those are my goals. Now, just so it's known, we're just inundated with way too much information about what the standards are, and their minds are being skewed. 300 pounds bench pressing is not for everybody, okay? It doesn't even matter if you are huge and muscular and buff and you weigh 210 pounds. Some guys that weigh 220 can't bench 300 pounds. That's just part of the mechanics, part of the raw strength that it takes to pick up that much weight. So don't feel bad, don't feel insecure, like, oh, I can't pick up 200 pounds. I'm a failure. That's just not true. Okay? You went to the gym today, you're eating right, you're doing what it takes to make a better physique, to live in a good house that's yours, that's clean. Nothing wrong with that. Do that and feel proud. But by no means feel insecure that you can't bench 250. Some people never bench that, and it's very hard to work up to. It's not something that you just gravitate into, like, oh, now I can bench 250. You have to work your ass off to get into that level. Just like squats, just like deadlifts. It's something you have to progressively overload time and again and eat correctly for. Most people benching that, you gotta be a little more chunky. There's a few select individuals that are on the sauce that are bench pressing that much, that look like Greek god warriors, chiseled bodies. They are on a lot of sauce, a lot of PEDs, and eating a whole horse's diet worth of food, okay? So don't be fooled. A good marker for you, hit that 175, 200. Hit 150 for 15 reps. Cleanly. Develop the body. Make your muscles look great. Get cut. And that's what's important. You want to live in a nice house. Talking about your body right now. That's important. Don't focus on all these numbers and weights. If that's strictly your focus, by all means, get in there and you want to do all this heavy weight, mess up your shoulders, kick your own ass. I'm into kicking my own ass too, but after a while, it takes toll. I don't bench press anymore like that. I sometimes throw in the bench press when I'm doing a workout, and it's lightweight, 150, 185, as high as I go. There's no reason for me to go that high. I usually fluctuate in my own body weight level between 178, 183. There's no reason for me to just throw up 250 over and over again with these older joints I have. Instead, I prefer dumbbell presses. They shape the chest better anyways, and that's what I'm going for, is a rock hard physique that looks good, that functions well. Oh, another note about benching and levels. So now I know why it's a good indicator of strength because it's working in compound movements, and I understand that. But you know what? Some people that bench 200, 300 pounds, 400 pounds, they can barely do a good amount of push-ups. And that's, to me, is odd. Very odd. That their fitness, pun intended, that their fitness levels are not as good to do a bunch of push-ups. So I'm guessing push-ups is highly in the endurance phase, and it works a different set of mechanics and a different version of the torso. So it's just like doing the bench press, except for nothing's against your back and you are going up against gravity. And I think that knocking out a whole lot of push-ups can be more healthful for you than having a gigantic bench press. And the flexibility that comes with it by being able to do a bunch of push-ups is better than most people that have a huge bench don't have amazing flexibility. Now, there's some outliers there, absolutely. But for the most part, people doing these big benches have limited flexibility, tied up joints, a lot of muscles that are definitely overworked and overdeveloped. If you notice a lot of big benchers, they don't like to play with leg day. And that's not helpful for an overall built physique. And then you may be top heavy, you got skinny little legs, a big ass upper body, and followed by that, huge benchers. Make sure you're doing a back workout. Make sure you're getting a really strong back workout, because what's the point of having this front is all it's all huge, and then the back is just saggy and weak? Doesn't make any sense. So it would help you to go outside your comfort zone and get in some strict overhead press with lighter weight, so you can concentrate on those deltoids, getting those strong, and doing body weight movements. But now you know. That's my video on bench press, the power of the bench press, and why is the bench press the standard. So now I know. I remember all throughout my whole life, what's your bench, bro? What's your bench? People would see me, dude, you're buff, dude. What's your bench? What's your bench? And I was like, why don't they ever ask, what's your squat? What's your deadlift? What's your anything else but bench? But now I know why. Because it is a very powerful compound movement that's judged fairly and comparable and makes most sense. So, it is one of the big daddies, and now you know that bench press is one of the big daddies. Okay, that's my video on bench pressing and why it is the standard. Like, share, comment, subscribe to Odd Fitness for more talks about entheogens, nutritional information, ergogenic use, the big three: squat, bench, or squat, bench, or deadlift, body weight movements, all things fitness. I'm into it. All right. Have a great Tuesday, and we're signing out.